My name is Eric Brown. I'm going to talk to you about two things today. One, I've been asked to speak about the creative industries and the economy of culture in general, and I will be actually coming back to some of the issues raised by the rapporteur, and I also will speak about this research we have done. By the way, if you have any questions about this presentation, you'll find my email address on our website on the screen. Now, the reason that I'm being here is actually this international comparative study that we've been doing. We call it a quick scan. Although it did indeed include 1,000 policies in 18 countries. You can see the countries on the slide. I'm not going to name them all. We're pressed for time, and I know that the chairman will keep me within the 15 to 20 minutes that they gave me. And you understand that it's been very difficult to give you a full overview of those policies. If you're interested in this, you can download it from our website, www.eureka.nl, or from the website from this conference as well. Now first, the issue of the economic potential of the creative industries. Probably you heard some of those figures this morning, but I want to repeat them because I'm an economist as well, and economists first look at figures. And they will say, well, what's the impact? What's the economic impact of the creative industries? And there's been actually the only study I know into these figures is done by Kia. It's called The Economy of Culture and published in 2006. 654 billion as a turnover, contribution to GDP 2.6%. Is this a lot or not? Yes, it is quite considerable. They compare it, for instance, with the economic contribution of the real estate sector, and they say this is 2.1%. Overall growth of the sector's value added is also higher than the growth of the general economy in the EU. They say 12.3%. And the estimate for employment is also very high, 5.8 million people, around 3% of overall employment within the EU. Now these figures, of course, are impressive and are important as a first start of the discussion about the creative industries. This data was lacking, but still I'll come back to the reliability of this information and probably what we need to do more. But it is a starting point and is one way to persuade and influence the debate among economists. The thing is, of course, if you collect data or you assess the contribution of the creative industries to the GDP, you have to say, what is it? This is the delineation from Kia, from their research. I'm not going to discuss it into detail, but I want you to grab hold of the consequences. First, there's a core arts field. You see that on the left corner in the slide. Performing arts, visual arts are part of that. A second circle around this are the cultural industries, film, television, video games, music. And another circle are called the creative industries and activities, design, architecture, and advertisement. By the way, it does make a big difference if you include advertisement within the creative industries or not. And then finally, there's a circle of related industries, PC manufacturers, you can see, mobile industry, MP3 players as examples. The key idea of this approach is that culture is at the heart of that process, so actually kickstarting innovation and development in the other circles. They've used this in their data collection. I will not go into the technicalities of this process, but it's not easy, I can tell you, to establish what the creative industries are and what the economic impact is. Another definition or approach is what I've been called the Dutch delineation, or the Dutch approach. It's a cooperative research project of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science in the Netherlands. They made a different categorization and put creation as the center of the creative industries. So the arts, media, entertainment and creative businesses, the process of coming up with a good idea, getting new insights, is crucial within the development of the creative industries. Further down the road, the creation is being translated into production, tangible products, and has been distributed to consumers. What I like about this definition is that creation is really the core, and it doesn't really matter whether it's a performing arts like dance, or whether it's writing a film script, or whether it's an architect. It's all creation, and creativity drives new economic development. We're going to discuss that, by the way, more firmly on the next slides. The matter of definition is one. We're not going to discuss that in my presentation, maybe later on. But no matter how you define it, there is economic potential. But we have to be honest. On the panel, people said, well, actually, we don't need to debate whether the creative industries are important or whether it's creativity as a driver of economic development. There are some difficulties still to maximize the potential of the creative industries. A big problem, and if someone carefully looks at the study of Kia, is that there is no match with standard statistical data classifications nor data collection. They had to fill in a lot of gaps within their study. Secondly, even in a perfect world, it would be impossible to measure the full impact of the creative industries, because it's very difficult to exactly define it, and there are links between other sectors. One issue, for instance, is raised between the creative industries and the ICT sectors. How big is that impact of the creative industries on that? It's considerable, but it's very difficult to estimate it and to come up with a serious figure. But we know it's there. And that's a problem, of course. If you want to move the debate about the creative industries further, you need more proof, more data, more evidence to support your policies. And there's also some skepticism by mainstream economists and also by what I've been calling cultural traditionalists. So people not necessarily see the match between economics on the one hand and culture on the other. It is changing, but for instance, I'm working at the Erasmus University in the economic faculty. There's still a large group of economists that don't see a strong link between culture and the economy. To explain this a bit further, I've taken this picture from a publication of the study made by the Dutch government. And what I like about this one is, of course, there's Pac-Man at the center of this picture. It's of my childhood when I played this computer game on but what I like about it more is actually that it focuses on the connection between culture and the economy. And I don't think it's weird that the link between culture and the economy is as developed as we are. I think a lot of people still think that they are separate entities. Where we should be going, of course, is that Pac-Man actually will either eat economics or economics and the culture merge together as engines for innovation. And this view is basically also a matter of perception and belief and what sort of information do you take on board. I strongly believe in the role of culture and creative industries as engines for economic innovation. But I think we need to do much more, let's say, a missionary work to get the word across. I will also come back to this at the end of my presentation. But I think this diagram actually captures it very well. Now, I draw a little bit from my research. National policy stimulating economic development of the creative industries. What I also find is a key issue is that many of the issues raised here and probably also the studies come from a cultural background. And I think it's very important to integrate culture and creative industries within standard or mainstream economic policies. So what we did in our investigation is we select 7 categories of policies that are generally accepted by all economists that are relevant. Stimulating innovation, promoting entrepreneurship, promoting access to venture capital, market development, creative clustering, property rights, and then there's also a category miscellaneous.